Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Common Ground Virtual Week evening concerts. We're happy that you're tuning in, whether it be in real time or after time. This is being archived on our Common Ground on the Hill official YouTube channel. We are in the heading toward the end of our first week. It's a virtual week in the traditional arts, music and art and writing, etc. And next week, starting on the 2nd of July, we will gather and have our in-person week, complete with a full in-person festival. The folks you're going to hear tonight will be here next week as well, and you can take classes from them still. You can still sign up, and you'll also be able to see them in concert and at the festival itself, all on the campus of McDaniel College. So grab your favorite drink or your favorite food, snack, or just lean back and relax and listen to some great music. Our first performer has been with us for a number of years. His name's Christopher James, and he plays the blues. He plays other things too. He's a wonderful instructor. He leads our not weekly, but bi-monthly jams in Westminster. So if you want to play music with him, you surely can. So let's make welcome. Put your hands together for Christopher James.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Hello, Walt. Great to be here. Having a good week so far, and looking forward to the last day tomorrow, and then seeing everybody in person next week too. All right, so we're going to kick off this week. I'm teaching a blues ukulele class, and I'm also teaching a blues mandolin class. So I thought I'd show you a little bit of that this evening. So one of the tunes that we got into in the ukulele class is this one right here, "Rock Me Baby." It's a classic blues tune, and this is done close to the style of B.B. King right here, who is really one of the main reasons that I got into playing blues and stuck with it over everything else. So a little "Rock Me Baby." Rock me, baby, now. Rock me all night long. Rock me, baby, rock me all night long. Well, I want you to rock me, baby, like my back ain't got no bone. Well, throw your arms around me like the circle around the sun. Throw your arms around me like the circle around the sun. Well, I want you to call me daddy and lay down in my arms. Well, if you see me coming down, run and get your rocking chair. Well, if you see me coming down, baby, run and get your rocking chair. Oh, you know I ain't no stranger. I used to live with you. Rock me, baby, rock me all night long. Rock me, baby, rock me all night long. Oh, I want you to rock me, baby, like my back ain't got no bone. All right, a little bit of ukulele for you. So I'm going to switch over to the mandolin now. And there's a song from ZZ Hill that when I was down in Clarksdale, Mississippi, this is a tune that we would play a lot. A little story of going out to have some fun on a Saturday night.
There we go. This is live now.
Yeah.
All right. We're hearing some noise there. All right. I'm hearing background groans I see in the text. That can happen with the blues. That's Yes, everybody who's groaning, try to keep it in the background as we carry on. But you know, this encourages groaning and moaning and getting down. That's the idea. Well, you say your party's jumping and everybody's having a good time, but you know what's going through my mind. Well, do you mind if I get comfortable and take off these shoes? Oh, and while you're fixing me a drink, I'll put on some of them down home blues. She said, you know, I don't get out much on the town, and you know I done cut out a lot of that running around all week long. Well, I've been keeping my cool. Oh, she said, but tonight I'm gonna get my head bad and get down on these down home blues. Down home blues, down home blues. All she wanna hear was down home blues all night long. Well, every other record or two. Oh, she said, take off all those fast records down and put on some of them down home blues. She said, my old man, well, he might want to fight. Will you tell him if he calls, well, I'll be back real late tonight and I don't care. 'Cause tonight I'm gonna do as I choose. thank you. The silence is deafening. Then we'll do one more song for you. I think with all the smoke blowing in and everything, I think I can sing one more song, and then hopefully I don't fall out of the chair before that. And I'm hoping next week when we're in person that it's cleared out, or else I think everybody might need a ride from building to building. So keeping my fingers crossed. This is a song, one of my favorite guitar players besides B.B. King in the blues is Mississippi John Hurt. And Mississippi John Hurt's music to me always just has so much rhythm and a rolling energy, more than a lot of people, in the way that everything that Jimmy Reed plays has this rolling groove. Everything John Hurt plays has this rolling, happy groove to it, no matter what the song is about. And it's just been a huge influence on my playing on the guitar. And on the mandolin, I've tried to find some ways to take some of that, some of his material and tunes, and find a way to adapt that to the mandolin and get a little of that guitar sound. So for the last tune I'm going to play for you is Mississippi John Hurt's Lewis Collins. All right, we'll tune those two and we'll leave the rest of them where they are. Miss Collins weep, Miss Collins moan to see her son Louis leave his home. The angels laid him away. Angels laid him away. They laid him 6 feet under the clay. The angels laid him away. But Bob shot once and Louis shot two. They shot poor Collins, shot him through and through. The angels laid him away. You sing it with me at home. Angels laid him away. They laid him 6 feet under the clay. The angels laid him away. When all the folks heard Louis was dead, well, all the people they dressed in red. The angels laid him away. Angels laid him away. They laid him 6 feet under the clay. The Well, they laid him 6 feet under the clay. The angels laid him away. Thank you all.
All right. Little Mississippi John Hurt there. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
You know,
Great
Mississippi,
to be here.
in the 1960s, Mississippi John Hurt spent a fair amount of time in DC, around DC, and hanging around the Arlington Music Store. And one of our instructors, Dave Essig, got to learn a lot from him in person there. And yeah, Mississippi John, he's got that groove, that beautiful groove.
Well, really, I've read Phil Wiggins. I don't know if you've seen his. I don't know if you've seen his book, the Blues, Sweet and Bitter Blues, that he wrote, and he talks a lot about the DC scene, and there's a lot of that talking about Mississippi John Hurt up there, and things with Archie Edwards and the barbershop, and it's a really wonderful book. To a lot of those people like Eleanor Ellis and Phil Wiggins, I've met through Common Ground and through the barbershop. But his book, The Sweet and Bitter Blues, is really great. It was great to see a lot of those stories and hear more about him and Cephas and Wiggins playing together, and that whole scene around DC that's been connected with Common Ground and such a big part of the folk blues sound continuing on to today. So.
Yeah, DC's been a real hub for a number of types of traditional music. Certainly the blues among them. Well, Chris, thanks so much, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you. Looking forward to hearing Rod. I'll see you next week.
You'll be on Wednesday night on Blues Night, along with Guy Davis and Professor Louie and Harry Orlove and Shelley Enzer and Alice will be there. So it's going to be quite a night of the blues on Wednesday night at the theater on the campus of McDaniel College. It'll be Blues Night, emceed by the Red Rooster all the way from Boulder, Colorado.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it'd be fun. Well, thank you. Our next performer comes to us from Florida, but I originally knew him when he was around New York City and up in New England. And he's been a prime mover in the regeneration of the Greenwich Village scene. And he can tell us more about that later on. We are going to have a Greenwich Village Folk Festival online the first night of Common Ground on Sunday night. So you'll want to learn more about that. Make welcome a fine singer, songwriter, and I would say an intellectual and a teacher, Rod MacDonald.
Thank you, Walt. Hi, folks. Hey, Chris, good to hear you, buddy. Sounded good. Well, you know, I thought I may have played this last year. This song's on my brand new CD, but I wrote it a year or two ago. But I'd like to play it tonight in celebration of the fact that next week we're going to be in person for the first time in, what's this, 4 years, Walt, you think?
Well, we were in person last summer, but
oh, well, I wasn't, I don't think.
Right.
I think I did a virtual week last summer.
Right.
In the next generation to come down the line, I believe it was the year 2039. They asked, hey mom, what was the pandemic? I've been hearing about it in school, and I bet it was something you'd never want to see again. Mom sat down, shook her head, and said with a grin, oh, the pandemic, wasn't that a time? Yeah, said Mom, I was just in my teens. Your daddy was trying to get in my jeans. We couldn't travel, so we married on Zoom. The preacher in Maine, our parents back home. Streamed the first kiss, had colored balloons. Baked our own cake, went on our honeymoon without leaving the room. Yeah, the pandemic, wasn't that a time? Yeah, said Mom, and who could forget? The numbers kept climbing and no one protected their faces, till thousands were gasping for air, and businesses shutting down everywhere. Speaking of time, every now and then, you'd hear the news of a trusted friend you knew you'd never see again. There was no toilet paper on the shelf. You couldn't go to work, so we kept to ourselves. Took walks in the moonlight when the curfew was gone, and I've never felt closer to anyone. And there was this guy who was like a big joke. Said no one's really dying, it's just a cruel hoax. But he was no friend of mine. Yeah, the pandemic, wasn't that a time? It was a quiet time to reflect, said Mom. We had 600 channels in the living room. It's amazing to me to remember today. There was never anything on anyway, except for live concerts, and with these guys I know came on every Sunday with a different show. And somehow it eased my mind. Yeah, the pandemic, wasn't that a time? And in the midst of it all, people took to the streets when an unarmed black man killed by police was becoming too normal. And for the first time, the cops were made to pay for the crime. And speaking of crime, there were women and men who thought they'd overturn the government. Well, they ended up doing time. Now you knew it was coming to an end, and soon when you turn on the news, and in the afternoon there was a shooting in the mall or a store. So many thoughts and prayers you couldn't take anymore. It was easier to buy a gun than to vote. We had to dig deep to keep the ship afloat for the next generation to come down the line. That's what Mama said back in 2039. Yeah, the pandemic, wasn't that a time? Yeah, the pandemic, wasn't that a time? All right. Well, I'm the one of the songwriters instructors this week in the virtual week here at Common Ground on the Hill, and also next week. One of the things that we talk about in the songwriting workshops is how you get started on a song, and you know, lots of different ways to do that. Hey out there, I'm hearing some weird noise. There you go. A lot of ways to get a song started, from, you know, things that are going on in your life or things that you observe, or just a desire to vent in some cases. But sometimes today, for example, I'm not going to get specific, but a couple of the people in the class came in with stuff that was very personal and kind of based on their own life stories. And in those situations, I think it's actually moving, when that happens. And it reminded me kind of this song. I was in Scotland some years ago, and I was visiting a friend of mine who's a singer-songwriter and lived way up on the west coast, on the edge of the sea. And he told me that when he got married, he had 3 kids. When he got married, that he couldn't buy a house, that there wasn't anybody around who could sell him a house, that the people in that part of Scotland are not allowed to own property. It's not that there's any law against it, it's just that it's all owned by descendants of the lords who fought against Scotland and went up into Scotland and fought to make Scotland part of England back in the 1700s, were rewarded by taking all the land that was owned by Scottish people and giving it to these lords. And they passed it down through generations and had never sold any of it except in a few cases to Japanese real estate corporations. He said he could rent a place all his life, but when he died, his kids could not inherit it, which is a surefire method for engendering generations of poverty, in my opinion. Well, his kids took me on a little walk, and we walked up to the top of a hill, and I asked what we were looking at, these 2 islands off in the distance. They were called Rum and Egg, and as it happens, my own forefathers came from Rum, and they lived there in the 1700s and were forced to leave when the English king gave the island to an English lord who turned it into a private game preserve and evicted the more than 1,000 people living there. At that moment, a ship went by, sailed between the 2 islands, and it just got me thinking how it must have been for my ancestor to look back on the land that he probably would never see again. And I suppose if you want to know how songs get written, that's how this one got written. I then went to a pub and mentioned that I wanted to buy a bottle of Scotch whiskey to take back to my dad. And everybody said, "You gots to try some first," and bought me a whole bunch of shots until I was waking up the next morning and being poured onto a train. And that's how this song got written. Whenever we measure life's greatest treasures, the simplest of pleasures is often most high. To hold and to cherish a love that won't perish, and to walk in the highlands with you by my side. I remember the 1st of November, the frost on the heather, I followed the tide west through the highlands. Our ship sailed in silence, and never the highlands again have I spied. And how many lifetimes I've wandered since I took adventure, my bride. How many good lives squandered, victory and justice denied. End of my story, come fortune or glory, or only to answer for blindness or pride. If there's a heaven, one thing I believe in, I'll walk in the highlands with with you by my side. And how many lifetimes I've wandered since I took adventure, my bride. How many good lives squandered, victory and justice denied. End of my story, come fortune or glory, or only to answer for blindness or pride. If there's a heaven, one thing I believe in, I'll walk in the highlands with you by my side. I'll walk in the highlands with you by my side. Okay, well, of more immediate present concern, you might say, one of the things that I like to say to people in the songwriting classes is not to bring in finished work, but work that you're willing to accept some suggestions on. There's no point in bringing to a songwriting workshop a song in which you have already decided it's perfect and you wouldn't change anything. So with that in mind, here's one I'm working on. It's getting there. It's brand new. I have a brand new CD that's just come out. It's called Rants and Romance. The first song, The Pandemic, and some songs of personal and more general concern are on it. You can find it at rodmacdonald.com. You can find it actually on Spotify and iTunes and Apple Tunes and all those other places too. But this is a song that's too new for that. And I suppose the immediate concern that inspired this song was that down in Florida, there's currently a crusade going on against all kinds of people, trans people, black people who would like to learn about black history, black congressmen, virtually anybody that doesn't fit a very, very narrow definition of people are being aggressively marginalized by the state of Florida. And one of the laws that they passed is really directly aimed at brainwashing children, I would say. And that law is that it is now illegal in the state of Florida for anyone in a school to mention or ask or teach about anything that might make anyone uncomfortable. And I believe that they intend this to be a vehicle for parents to sue school teachers who mention subjects such as the legitimate history of the United States. But I'll leave that to you to decide. But anyway, it made me decide to write this song. And you know, this is not a bad sing-along. Please, don't let me make you uncomfortable by mentioning slavery in Jim Crow Memphis, night riders and lynch mob justice, James Meredith and John Lewis, though they're all real, but please, don't let me make lesbian women, transgender, non-binary humans, though they're American citizens as much as you. And I know that's gonna make you uncomfortable. It must be pounding in your head. You wanna pass a law to silence it. Why don't you free your mind instead? But please, don't let me make you uncomfortable when I say that free choice and black history, equal justice and real diversity means so much more to me than white supremacy. And I know that makes you uncomfortable. It must be pounding in your head. You wanna pass a law to silence me. Why don't you free your mind instead? Please, don't let me make you uncomfortable when I tell you nobody's buying what you're selling. Don't believe in the lies you're telling, and I don't care how loud you're yelling. It's you who's got to change. So please, let me make you uncomfortable. Please, let me make you uncomfortable. Well, a work in progress, but I think it's getting there.
Yeah, comfort's the big deal with everyone, right?
Well, you know, one of the things that closed-minded people always want to do is tell you that you shouldn't say anything. I saw this interview with Barbara Streisand and Barbara Walters. I don't know. I'm sure it's from years ago, but I saw it recently. And Barbara Walters says, "What do you say to people who say that you're just a singer and you shouldn't, have these opinions?" Of course, she's a very outspoken person, has raised millions of dollars for environmental and free choice causes and things like that. And she said, "Well, I'm a singer, I'm a human being, and I'm also an American citizen. Those actually come first." And I think there's a lot of truth in that. We're just human beings. Just because we're artists doesn't mean we give up the right to be human beings and to have the same freedom of expression that other human beings have.
Yeah.
That's my personal opinion, of course, but that's what I think.
Well, what other opinion could you have other than your personal opinion?
Well, that's true,
There
and
you go.
and I don't suppose there'd be much point in my pretending I don't have a personal opinion about that. Well, I've never really been a commercial singer-songwriter. I've always kind of wanted to say what I wanted to say. I think it's probably one of the real motivations I had in getting into music to begin with.
Yeah, so tell us
Professionally.
a little bit about the evolution of the Greenwich Village Folk Festival, and how it's going to land right here on Sunday evening.
Yeah. The Greenwich Village Folk Festival actually started in 1987 in the village when I was living there. And we did, I think, 6 or 7 annual concerts in the Washington Square Church and at New York University. And they were always free, and it still is. We don't charge anybody much. That's been a basic principle for us since the very beginning. Um, the we went on hiatus for quite a few years, and then when the pandemic happened, we started doing online concerts in June of 2020, and we've presented, quite an array of people. 10 artists a week usually. You've been in it a couple times. Suzanne Vega, one of my contemporaries in the village, has headlined it, and also some of the people like David Wilcox, Tom Chapin, who's going to be at Common Ground next week. We've also had tribute concerts to Phil Oakes. We had a birthday concert for Tom Paxton's 85th birthday recently. Noel Paul Stuckey and Peter Yarrow have been in it. And then we've also, each month we try to have a couple people that we're introducing to, we at least feel we're introducing to to a bigger public for the first time. And because we're no longer physically tied to a location like a church in Greenwich Village, we've had people online from all over the United States, Ireland, England, Scotland. I'm not sure. Well, certainly Canada. I'm not sure if we've had anybody from outside those places yet, but we probably would like to.
So how will people tune into this?
Sunday evening, you can watch it live on. There are four ways to watch it. Three ways to watch it. One would be it's on Facebook at facebook.com/GVFF2023. It's on YouTube, the Greenwich Village Folk Festival channel on YouTube. It's on the Greenwich Village Folk Festival.org website. Those three all show it live and archive it. So if you miss it Sunday, you can watch it later on if you want to. And it's usually streamed, the audio is usually streamed to the national internet folk music station, Folk Music Notebook. I'm not sure if we're being streamed this particular Sunday, but I'm sure that it will at least be rebroadcast if it's not. So
some of the folks are going to be on, but Tom Chapin will be on, Guy Davis.
Professor Louis, no, Guy's not in it. Professor Louis, Josh Heisel, who toured with Stephen Stills and Neil Young a couple times. Shelley Ensor, the gospel instructor. It's, with one exception, all the acts are actually faculty at Common Ground on the Hill. Our intention in doing this, actually, I suppose I'm the person who, I'm one of the co-producers of the festival, and I thought that my experience as a faculty member at Common Ground on the Hill is that it has an unusually high quality of faculty people. So I thought that the outside world ought to know about that, and that's one of the reasons why we're doing it. So we have 9 people who are going to be teaching next week at Common Ground on the Hill, the ones you mentioned, plus Christopher, who we just saw, Shannon Quinn, Stefan Hannigan, I'm trying to think, Nicholas Carter. Fill me in if I'm missing anybody.
3 international artists there who are just, you don't want to, Nicholas Carter, he's an amazing Paraguayan harp player, and it just, unbelievable player. Shannon has played with the Chieftain. She's a fiddler from Nova Scotia. And Stefan Hannigan, no slouch either. He's from Belfast, now living in Baltimore, Ontario. And just a great Irish musician and TV producer, et cetera. It's a really great lineup. So we hope.
So anyone watching, each of these people are going to come in and do basically what we're doing tonight, a 15-minute set, and give you kind of a taste of their music, and we'll have some. We usually we have Ron Olesko, the director of Folk Music Notebook, and Wanda Fisher from what is it called, Hudson River Sampler in Albany, as MCs, and they usually provide some information about each artist as well, like where you can find their music online and where they live and that kind of stuff. So it's a good opportunity for people to hear both some established people like Professor Louis and Tom Chapin and stuff, and none of these people are, as you say, there's no slouches. Professor Louis is a Grammy-winning record producer for the band's albums and stuff like that, for example.
No, it's going to be great. And the thing is, yes, you can also come to Common Ground in person and see all them, including Rod. I think I have you slated for Friday evening concert.
Okay.
That's Friday. And then, of course, the festival on July 8th. all in air-conditioned comfort should we need it on the common ground on the hill.
The theater is actually a beautiful place to play.
Beautiful theater.
It really is. Every year I go to every concert. It's just, they're all so good. It's such a wonderful place to see and hear music and to be on stage. It's thrilling. It's just a beautiful space, and the sense you get of the audience being so present with you is really great.
Yeah, great acoustics. I remember seeing Ian and Sylvia there in 1965,
Whoa.
and Ian Tyson saying, "Wow, these acoustics are something else."
4 months ago in April on a day coach, she came down.
Right. Well, it's been great having you, Rod, and I look forward to seeing you this coming week. And I'd like to remind people that tomorrow night we'll have another concert featuring the mandolins of Tom Minty from Patuxent Records, and also Wayne Fugate from Out to Lunch up in the Hudson River Valley, two wonderful mandolinists. And then, we will proceed with things common ground. Saturday night, we have our opening concert, which will be Shannon Quinn and Walt Michael and Company, with Harry Orlov playing some jazz during the wine hour. That's at the Carroll Arts Center downtown. So we're, the train's on its way. Also, we remind people to tune in to the gallery talks led by Linda Van Hart and the art staff every night. And it's a way to up your game in terms of the arts. I'd like to thank Maria Wong for all her help. Thank Christopher James for hanging in and being here, and Phil Spees for his help. And just remember, be kind to somebody. Doesn't matter who, just somebody.